few months ago, I made a video about how AI development was stalling out. We went from 5x improvements to 5% improvements. It felt like the only thing growing exponentially was the cost. Shout out to my $200 a month ChatGPT Pro subscription. Today though, OpenAI announced O3. And now I've seen the numbers, and it's clear that I was wrong. O3 is a monumental leap in AI capabilities, from code to math to science. The biggest leap isn't any of those, though. It's the ArcAGI test. Very few AI models have scored even a 5% on this test. I'll show why in a second. But first, we need to see these numbers, because the new O3 model is in the 76% range for their low usage and 88% for their high tuned version. It's insane. O1 Preview and O1 High were under 35%. O1 Mini's only 8%. And other models like Claude are not even close. We have a lot to talk about here, from the expenses to how this actually benefits in real world stuff to what this AGI Arc test even is. And we'll get there in a second, but first, a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Browserbase, and I like them so much that I invested. Yes, I'm that confident in this company. Their primary product is a web browser for your AI. It's the easiest way to get an AI to browse the web for you. Tell it what to do, where to get information from, what pages to browse, and it will figure it out. Everything from CAPTCHAs to parsing pages. It's really cool. You can even test it out right on the site. You can give it any of these example prompts, like I can tell it to go to Hacker News. And now it's going to figure out what I mean by that. It's going to launch the browser. It's writing all of this code on the fly, figuring out that it needs to go to news.ycombinator.com, find all the posts mentioning JavaScript. And look at that. Now it's going through all of the posts and it is looking for ones with titles that contain JavaScript. What's cool is this isn't just some AI tool. It's actually fully using Playwright under the hood. Their service is a Playwright host. So if you want to query a browser to do something, their service is probably what you want. It's so handy that they made an open source package called Stageand. It's an AI-powered successor to Playwright, and it's really cool. You can literally write automations by just telling it what you want to do. Stagehand.act, click on the contributors, extract the top contributors, and you can pass it a Zod schema to validate the output from the page. And this isn't something that's exclusive to Browserbase. You can use this anywhere that you can host Playwright with. So anything that can do a headless Chrome can use this. But obviously, using their APIs makes it really, really simple to host. Browserbase is dope, and I think you'll like them a lot. Check them out today at soydev.link/browserbase. Historically, AI developers like OpenAI and Anthropic have avoided this test because of how bad it makes them look. Not only is OpenAI no longer avoiding the test, they actually brought the president of the foundation in to talk about it. I could explain how it works, but I'd much rather he do it.
Hello, everybody. My name is Greg Camrad, and I'm the president of the Arcprise Foundation. Now, Arcprise is a nonprofit with the mission of being a North Star towards AGI through and during benchmarks. So our first benchmark, ArcAGI, was developed in 2019 by Francois Chollet in his paper on the measure of intelligence. However, it has been unbeaten for 5 years. ArcAGI is all about having input examples and output examples. Now, the goal is you want to understand the rule of the transformation and guess it on the output. So, Sam, what do you think is happening in here?
Probably putting a dark blue square in the empty space.
See, yes, that is exactly it. It's actually surprisingly hard for AI to understand what's going on. So I want to show one more hard example here. Now, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you think is going on in this task?
Okay, so you take each of these yellow squares, you count the number of colored kind of squares there, and you create a border of that width.
That is exactly it. And that's much quicker than most people. So congratulations on that. What's interesting, though, is AI has not been able to get this problem thus far. And even though that we verified that a panel of humans could actually do it. Now, the unique part about ArcAGI is every task requires distinct skills. There won't be another task that you need to fill in the corners of blue squares. But we do that on purpose. And the reason why we do that is because we want to test the model's ability to learn new skills on the fly. ArcAGI version 1 took 5 years to go from 0% to 5% with leading frontier models. However, today, I'm very excited to say that O3 has scored a new state-of-the-art score that we have verified. On low compute for O3, it has scored 75.7. Now, this is extremely impressive because this is within the compute requirements that we have for our public leaderboard, and this is the new #1 entry. As a capabilities demonstration, when we ask O3 to think longer and we actually ramp up to high compute, O3 was able to score 85.7%. on the same hidden holdout set. Human performance is comparable at 85% threshold. So being above this is a major milestone. And we have never tested a system that has done this or any model that has done this beforehand. So this is new territory in the ArcAGI world. When I look at these scores, I realize I need to switch my worldview a little bit. I need to fix my AI intuitions about what AI can actually do and what it's capable of, especially in this O3 world.
The one thing they didn't touch on there that I really think is worth considering here is cost. Here they actually show left to right how expensive these models are to run per task. And you'll see that O1 Mini was like 20 to 30 cents per task. Preview was a little over $1 a task. The new O1 models are more expensive, as we know, as I pay the $200 a month for ChatGPT Pro. But these new models, significantly better performance, but also way more expensive. They actually dropped the hard numbers down here. Admittedly, they blanked out the cost per task for that low efficiency, high performance version. But you can see the retail cost for the private test, 100 tasks, cost them $2,000 to run to get that 75 score. And each task was $20 and took over a minute to run. And when you consider the less efficient version was 13.8 minutes per, almost at 14 minutes, the cost is closer to $200 a task, which means that test was 20 grand just in the compute and energy costs to run. It's crazy the level at which hardware has become the bottleneck here. As they call out, the high compute version was 172 times more compute than the other version. And all of these are still so much more than previous things. I saw this tweet that I think is important to consider when we think about all these things. It's important to understand how expensive the cost of this model is. The assumption that was made both by the anti-doomers as well as the doomers themselves is that we would have a vast hardware overhang. The hardware overhang concept was that we'd have extra hardware around once AI was developed and we had real AGI. So we'd have all this extra hardware that could push the AI further and further, so it would get stronger and stronger really quick. We don't have that spare hardware, though. We thought the rapid improvement would automatically happen because there was so much more compute hardware out than there was AI being developed. But now that 3 to 5 companies have 80% of the world's compute, that's not the case, and they're using all of it. We can finally dismiss this as a fantasy. There isn't vast hardware overhang. We're in fact incredibly hardware limited these days, and we can barely afford the hardware for cutting-edge AI models. Will models become much cheaper to run? Sure. Will we see some sort of fantasy hard takeoff happen in a situation where we're so hardware limited? Absolutely not. Very important call out here. Without significantly more hardware and significantly better hardware, continuing to have monumental leaps is nearly impossible. The monumental leap here in performance also comes with a similarly monumental leap in cost and amount of hardware running per task. That said, the results that we're seeing are insane. We're talking about Codeforce's scores that put them in the top 200 Codeforce's developers in the world. We're talking about a model that can solve real scientific problems as well as PhD graduates can. We're talking about a model that can generate a full project from scratch that does complex tasks with reasoning within them. The prompt here is, write me a Python script which launches a server locally for an HTML file which has a big text box. When I enter things into the box and press submit, it should send the request to code to OpenAI O3 Mini API with medium reasoning effort, take the resulting code, save it to a temporary file on the desktop, then execute it in a new Python terminal. Took 38 seconds to run. Let's see how it works.
Copy the code and paste it to our server. And then we would like to launch this server. Oh, great. We have a UI where we can enter some coding prompts. Let's try out a simple one, like print OpenAI and a random number. So it's sending the request to O3 Mini Medium, so it should be pretty fast, right? So on this 40 terminal, yeah, 41, that's the ordinary number, right? So in this task, we asked the model to evaluate O3 Mini with the low reasoning effort on this hard GPT-2a dataset.
It's still using O3 Mini behind the scenes, but they prompted O3 Mini to build them their own custom tool to then prompt O3 Mini via the API. Here it asks for it to generate code that evaluates O3 Mini with low reasoning effort in the GPQA dataset. You need to download the raw file here, answer, yada, yada.
That's actually blazingly fast.
Yeah, and it's actually really fast because it's calling the O3 Mini with low reasoning effort. Oh, it actually returns the results.
Okay.
It's 61.62%, right? 62%, right?
Somehow very cool to like just ask a model to evaluate itself. Like,
yes, exactly, right? And if we just summarize what we just did, We ask the model to write a script to evaluate itself on this like hard GPQA data set from a UI, right? From this code generator and executor created by the model itself in the first place.
Everyone else is working on making agents that can figure this stuff out that are hard coded. OpenAI just lets the model do its stuff itself. You tell it what you want it to do, and it's making its own agents effectively. That's nuts. It's so nuts that instead of just releasing it outright, they're doing an early access window for safety testing. As I talked about in the O1 Pro video, there are now some concerning behaviors in these models that are worth considering when we think about AI safety going forward. The models are now smart enough that they'll, when given the right incentives, try to break out of what you told them to do, and they'll lie to you about it. They want to make sure these models are safe. They are putting out a request for any safety and security researchers to get early access so they can do this type of testing. They already have external networks like the Red Teaming Network and collaborating with third-party organizations as well as US AI Safety and UK AI Safety Institutes. But they want to make sure anyone who has the ability to make AI safer has the opportunity to actually use this and figure out what the risks are. As great as any set of security people can be, there will always be people externally who can find more. And I like that they're not just pretending they've solved this problem themselves and they're going out asking for more to do it. But $20 per task is a big ask for these things. So we'll see how that goes. Let's put out a paper around this new concept of deliberate alignment, where they're trying to use reasoning to get the models to behave in a safer way. I haven't had a chance to really dive into this yet. It looks interesting. Honestly, all the OpenAI papers are pretty readable and fascinating. So I'll probably be giving this a shot in the near future. That's all I got on this one. It has been a wild journey getting here. I was super wrong. Future of AI is both exciting and terrifying and requires a lot of compute. Let me know what you guys think. Are you excited or scared of O3? Until next time, peace, nerds.